This is Wade, and you are in Wade World. So, the question for the day today is hot button topic: is Tucker Carlson evil? All right, we'll dive into this. So, Tucker Carlson has been, throughout his life, a very middle of the road man. This is not a man who will ever lead armies unless it's absolute desperate times. This is not a leader of men. So he has had always a middling view on things. And he started off, as such men usually do, pretty left. But recently he interviewed a young guy, Nick Fuentes, who has been deplatformed since he was 18, just for not questioning Jewish people, but just for questioning Israel. That's how he got deplatformed, because he was like, why do we help these guys so much? Like, what's the drive, behind it? And then he came to the realization that a lot of Jews are very, very loyal more to Israel than to America, and that they are in powerful positions across government, media, finance, and education in not just America, but pretty much all of European nations. So anyway, Tucker Carlson had him online, and now everybody from Ben Shapiro, who we have proven is correct. If you haven't seen that video, check that video out. Is Ben Shapiro right? And other old Jews like Mark Levin, which is when their real nature really comes out, because they're like, all right, I'm old, I got no more time, not a lot of time left. Let me just get out there and just let it all flow out freely. So Tucker Carlson has been criticized by them as an anti-Jew hater, as a Nazi, as an evil person who wants all the Jews dead and whatnot. So Tucker Carlson made a response video, and it's a pretty long video. And his first argument in that video is this: I am just debating the fact that no country should have more influence on American government than Americans should have. And that is, Tucker Carlson said, that is his argument. But all the people debating him just say, you're a Nazi, you hate Jews, shut up. So he's saying, we must debate the argument, but these people refuse to debate it. They keep calling me evil, and they keep calling me a Nazi. And Tucker Carlson says he's not a Jew hater, he's not a Nazi or a National Socialist, he doesn't hate Jews. He just doesn't want Israel or any other country to have more influence over a foreign country than the country's citizens. He doesn't want any other country to have more influence over America than American people who have elected a democracy representation, representative democracy, which is another topic itself. And Jewish people love representative democracy because that leads to exactly these situations, which is a precursor to communism, which is also Jewish. So is Tucker Carlson evil for saying that they should debate him on the merits of his argument and not just label him and insult him and label him a racist, bigoted, anti-Semitic, anti-Jew guy? He's not evil, but he is wrong and he is foolish. Now, a good point Tucker brings up in his video is that in America, everybody is allowed to have their opinions, believe in what they believe in, and say what they say. So if he disagrees with this video that he is foolish and he's wrong, that's absolutely totally on him. Wade is not here to lead. This they say you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. So Wade is not here to make any horse drink from anything. And if you insist on being a donkey, definitely not. But why is he not evil, but he is wrong and foolish? It's because he picked a segment from Mark Levin, a 70-year-old Jew, who said that very, very aggressive, like they're very honest people. You got to give it to them. When they have enough power, they become honest. It's just they become honest too fast, right? He's like, the Babylonians couldn't destroy the Jews. The Romans couldn't destroy the Jews. Hitler couldn't destroy the Jews, among 109 nations that have kicked them out. So he's like, what are you guys going to do? What Mark Levin forgets is that Jews are not special. Jews are not chosen. And in fact, the majority of Jewish power today rests in the hand of Turkic people with some Eastern European genetics who converted to Judaism about 1200, 1100 years ago, the Khazars. So, Judaism itself, Jews themselves, the current Jews are very race aware, and whatever they might say, they're very genetically aware that yes, we have genetics, we need to preserve them. But the philosophy of Judaism is not unique. If all of the Jews everywhere vanished today, in a couple of thousand years, you would again have some other people. Maybe they'd call themselves News or some funny name like Shokshak. I don't know. Wade doesn't know. But they'll have the same kind of pattern of behavior, the same philosophy, and that philosophy will lead to a genetic uh, interbreeding, which will, amplify the philosophy with amplified genetics that hold to that philosophy. So the fact that Mark Levin says that is it's cute because number one, Jews have been expelled, and all the people who followed this teaching of Judaism have been expelled for thousands of years. However, there is a reason that the Jewish people are so well organized. It's because they're so few. They're so few. The Europeans, among many other peoples, numbered so numerously and had so much success over such a long period of time, whether it was the ancient Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Romans, or the European monarchs, that they literally bred themselves too big. And what happens when you have a lot of people? Divisions occur. Look at the division between Germany and the Netherlands. If you don't know German, you don't know Dutch. The Dutch basically are the Germans with slightly more retarded sounding language and slight differences, but they literally had to build up their own country. And if this offends some of you Germans or Dutch, tough shit, man. Like there is a difference between you guys, but the difference is not as big as the difference between, let's say, a German and an African, right? So they became so numerous and so successful, Europeans, that they fractured, and they had their own countries. Jewish people have had the same pattern for thousands of years, which is basically get into a host nation, don't work, but live off the taxes, which is basically steal from people who are working. And you can debate the merits of this and that. It doesn't really matter. It is a way to, get ahead if you can get in. And literally, they were kicked out for devaluing currency, which we call inflation. It is a national and global phenomenon now. Like, oh, it's inflation. We've planned to devalue the currency this much. Ridiculous. And for usury, predatory lending and debt, and for making taxes so high that eventually the people revolted against their own king, and the king was like, get out. I gave you guys the license to tax these people, but you've taxed them like crazy people. Get the hell out, or I'll be assassinated by these people. So repeatedly they've been kicked out for their behavior, but the genetics and the kind of people that are attracted to Judaism's philosophy don't really have the quality that Europeans or other high IQ, high conscientiousness individuals have, which is self-introspection about their own race. It's to follow Judaism, you have to basically ignore anything bad about your people. It's basically a recipe for never actually improving, but stagnating, right? And basically making the worst qualities stronger and stronger. So what's the best way to put it is exacerbating the worst qualities. Another way is making them more intense, making them stronger. So anyway, so the reason that Jews are so still here is because it's a philosophy that attracts the same kind of people across races. And if you extinguish the majority of them from one population, the remaining will go out and they'll find people from different races to become Jews. And the reason they're still here, but they're small, is because they've been kicked out and expelled, and sometimes even had pogroms and genocides against them for their exact reason that they don't improve, they don't self-respect, they never assume guilt, they never argue like men, they argue like girly men or women. They attack you, they don't attack the argument, they'll attack you personally, they'll say you are this, you are that, because they know that's the fastest way to shut down an argument when you don't have a defense is to just attack the other person. Actually, it's a good way to shut down an argument even if you have a defense. Like, why waste time? Most people are stupid, right? So, and Tucker Carlson also brings this point up in his video that these people say that he defends Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, and he says things that even Wade was not aware of. Now, Nicolas Maduro is somewhat of a socialist. It doesn't matter. What really is the problem of Jewish people with Nicolas Maduro is that he's taken out pretty much all the pillars of how they control every nation that they have control over, which is he's outlawed usury, that you can't charge unlimited interest on loans. He's outlawed abortion, he's outlawed homosexuality, he's outlawed transgenderism, and he's outlawed pornography. If you look at the Jewish religion and the kind of people it attracts, they are people who wage psychological and financial warfare, number one. And the pillars of financial warfare are give such high interest rates that you ruin the other person, or make them addicted to pornography, or turn their children infertile, or end their reproductive cycle by turning their children into transgenders or homosexuals. Right. So all of these are pillars of Jewish power. Now, Jews can, argue this anyway, this here and that, but this is the fact. It is a fact. This is literally how, since 7,500 years ago, the holy books of Jews have moved. Like the Talmud basically says this. It's a bunch of rabbis discussing over thousands of years what's right and what's not, and how to, rationalize any decision. But anyway, so Tucker says whether Nicolas Maduro is a socialist or not, or communist or not, which is funny because communism is basically Karl Marx was a Jew. Everybody spreading communism has been Jews in China, in Russia, everywhere. The Bolsheviks were basically Jews. It's Judaism on a global level, where the Jews make up the bulk of the main party and everybody else is basically slaves, right? It's not a utopia. So he says they call Maduro communist and all that, but what he's done for his country is exactly what Gaddafi did, is exactly what Hitler did, is exactly what a lot of people who have been Saddam Hussein did, a lot of what Iran has, no interest loans. North Korea, these horrible, horrible people, they all have the same pattern. They don't charge crazy interest rates. They ban degeneracy and homosexuality, pornography, transgenderism, all that nonsense. And they support family structures, right? So Tucker Carlson says, I have these arguments and they're so solid and we should argue the arguments and argue the point. Why do you attack me? You will make other people hateful. I don't want to hate anybody. I believed in giving everybody a chance. I refuse, basically, why Tucker Carlson is not evil, but he is wrong and foolish, is that he says, I refuse to see the patterns in behavior among various races and the genetic probability of a particular individual from a particular race to do certain things. Right? Tucker Carlson is saying that there is no pattern in the world of humanity. That's his belief system. Foolish, wrong, but not evil. The point of people like Tucker Carlson is, and when they do get to the point of being absolutely pushed against the wall, some of them maybe learn very late in life, and some of them never learn, right? They go through life never learning, is that you cannot fight fairly with those who do not fight fairly. You are trying, he apologized to Liz Cheney for saying like, oh, I insulted you because I didn't want to be like you and I don't want to personally attack you. That's nice, man. But understand, right? If a mad dog bites you and you hit it on the head with a stick, you can apologize to the mad dog saying like, I don't want to be violent against you, mad dog, my bad. But the mad dog doesn't care. He's going to bite you again. They have no regard for your principles or your philosophies, but you insist on giving them the benefit of your principles and philosophy, which has never, ever, ever in the history of human civilization been the winning side's motto. There has never been a winning side in the history of human civilization which said, you can attack us in whichever way you want, but we're going to stick to our principles. In fact, this Jew who wrote the book, Rules for Radicals, literally used that as a tactic. It's one of the best tactics, he says, is make your enemies follow their rules, but you should not have any rules whatsoever. It is literally a Jewish guy telling you, People who do this are stupid and retarded, and they're easy to defeat because they keep following their own rules, even if it harms them. The fact of the matter is, accepting reality and treating people the way they want and deserve to be treated will not permanently change you into something that you don't like. Treating somebody, best example, right? Somebody breaks into your house with a gun, he's trying to kill you and your family, and you shoot him dead. Does that change you into a robber, murderer? No, it won't. It's very simple. These people, like Tucker Carlson, and it's a genetic thing. Again, we're going to go back to genetics. Europeans have this genetics where they're just like unable to psychologically wrap their heads around this concept of the natural order. It's like, and that's the reason Americans faced a huge issue when first, even before America was founded, the settlers were trying to settle this continent because they were fighting tribes of savage Indians who only dealt in the currency of violence. Their whole belief system was guerrilla warfare and violence. They didn't care about money, they didn't care about this, which again is a different system and it has its own benefits and disadvantages. So initially, when the settlers came to America, they would march in formation and to defend themselves, but you can't have a formation against guerrilla warfare. So then they broke up, and the people who settled America, they adapted after getting killed, their families killed, their wives, sons, daughters, fathers, mothers killed, brothers, sisters killed. So they made a scout party. So they adapted to the guerrilla tactics of the tribes, came up with better guerrilla tactics, and won the nation. But it took them time to actually sit down and accept that mentally they were unprepared for this kind of warfare, and that's why they were losing. We're in the stage where people like Tucker Carlson maybe we'll never get there, right? They're just mentally never going to be prepared for what is required, what it is telling them that your approach is stupid, it's foolish, it's wrong. It doesn't matter if they call you evil, and it doesn't matter if they call you a saint. What matters are actions, and you continuously keep doing the same things which have led to the loss of every single European monarch's power for the last 500 years. If it takes you 500 years to learn this lesson, that's pretty slow. You're not going to win against people who have literally written books on strategy and tactics that specifically target your genetic predisposition to be naive and altruistic and trusting. So Tucker Carlson made this whole 2 hour video, and at the end, he'd be like, I'll be willing to extend an olive branch, blah, blah, blah. You have to understand, from your perspective, you are extending an olive branch to a human being, but it's a rabid mad dog wearing a human being's suit, right? From the other perspective, right? So if you're taking Tucker Carlson here and people who are calling him, evil here. So this is Tucker Carlson. This is a mad dog wearing a human suit and just waiting to basically tear you to shreds. Now we're going to switch it. So this human being who is against Tucker Carlson, all he sees is a stupid, bleating sheep that is becoming a little annoying because it won't go where it wants to. See, the sheep has not yet transformed into the man that it needs to be to understand that what it's facing is not a human being but a wolf, right? So this is a wolf looking at a stupid sheep, and the sheep is like, I'm just going to like stand here and be more difficult, but in the end, I'm still going to try and sit down with you, Mr. Wolf, and try to discuss this because I believe that not all wolves will eat sheep, right? So from the wolf's perspective, this is like a stupid sheep. And WAYDE absolutely gets the wolf's perspective as well. If it has proven time and time again to work, that means there's a genetic defect and it's not going to go away. The good thing is that as more and more pressure is applied to human beings across any races, the weak fall off and the strong adapt, survive, and become superior. So in the end, the whole diatribe of people like Tucker Carlson who want to be reasonable fails. Is he evil? No. But he is definitely serving evil by refusing to understand the natural order. And these people keep harking back to Christianity, Christianity, Christianity. We are Christians. While forgetting that what has Christianity done in 2000 years to you people that had not been done in the 5,500 years before, since Mesopotamia, Babylon, and ancient Egypt, where you had civilizations and empires for thousands of years, right? It is Christianity is a Jewish theological disagreement. And you, genetically, your kings were predisposed to listen to racial aliens talking about somebody else's good deed. It's a good quality. It's a good quality. It's a quality that other races probably do not have to that level. But where has it led you? All of your good deeds are couched in Christianity. Africa has a lot of Christians. They're not launching any spaceships anytime soon. All of the world conquered by, well, the Mayans and the Aztecs and the natives and the South Asians have had Christianity for a bit. They haven't launched any ships, right? The Orientals have had access to Christianity. They stick to their own. They're like, yeah, we're good, man. You can keep this Jewish. You want to adopt somebody else's religion, that's on you. We're good. We have our own gods. So this constant harking back to Christianity itself, it displays mental weakness because it literally attributes to a Jewish sub-religion all the attributes of the white European race. You're like, we're great because we're Christian. No, you're great because you're European, you retards. You were building Greece and Rome before Christianity ever existed, right? You were building ancient empires in Mesopotamia and the ancient Egypt, maybe even older, before Christianity existed, right? So, is Tucker Carlson evil? No, he's not evil. But he is in service to an evil cause still, because some people, they just never learn. And some men have to be dragged, kicking and screaming to face the truth. And sometimes they just can't. So the longer it takes you to realize this truth, right, the less of a realistic man you are. You might live in a Jewish system, and the Jewish system basically caters to girly men and girls. If you succeed in a Jewish system, right, very early in your life, you're basically a girly man. this is this is a fact. Unless you live in some of the countries that are not controlled by Jews, right? But America is not one of them. Hasn't been since 1913 when they established the Federal Reserve was established, right? They established it. So understand this. All of the actual masculine men who understand reality and have the natural order in their bones, in their blood, in their genetics, it takes longer to get successful in a very girly system, a soul-sucking system. So in the end, is Tucker Carlson evil? No, but he is still in service to evil by his foolishness, his naivety, and by being just plain wrong. Until next time, keep it cool, keep it smart, and as always, enjoy.